And now, with a somber message for the public, I'll present to you, on behalf of Cogsworth's finishing school, Bartleby.
Today, we mourn the loss of Monsignor Pixelborn. You may have known Pixelborn as a client, as a go-between, as a functionary of the online Lorcana ecosystem. But Born dared to be more than that. It dared to be a hero. It never begged for attention or financial recompense. It never served itself. Rather, it brought us together. From Austin to Augusta, from Sydney to Syracuse, from Los Angeles to Latvia, it lifted us all on inky wings. So, our thoughts are with Pixelborn's esteemed papa, Mr. Pavel, and with all of those whose hearts are heavy and whose personal computers are fallow. Rest in peace, Pixelborn, until we meet again, hopefully soon, in the form of an equally efficacious and entirely free-to-play online Lorcana client. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace indeed. Well said, my friend.
Wow.
It was beautiful.
Beautiful words from Mr. Bartleby there.
Really stunning. It's tough to greet you all like this on this episode, on this dark, dark time.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Katie.
And we're here at Smorcana to talk to you about Lorcana and snacks and Disney in no particular order. But our hearts are heavy today indeed, with the loss of Pixelborn.
Yes, we are being a little bit silly with it, but it really is a pretty dramatic event here in the Lorcana community.
Yeah, our group chats with the friends in our league, our local Lorcana players, blew up pretty quickly. We had a lot of fervent discussions about what it means for Lorcana and our feelings. And, just to put it right out there, it was not positive.
No, and it's such a staple in the playing of Lorcana and how people know about Lorcana and how people get reps of games in. You can play against people at 2 a.m., that kind of Hearthstone accessibility to it, where it really could be a one-person kind of a game, whereas in paper, you always need at least one other person to play against. Having that whole opportunity kind of gone is really tricky.
Yeah, folks were depending on this for their streaming livelihood, their content creation. It was a huge, huge ambassador for the game, especially in places where the game hadn't penetrated yet. There are a lot of places in the world where you can't get any Lorcana product at all. And it removed a barrier to entry in the form of cost. You could test out cards before you spent a ton of money on a deck to make sure you liked it. I mean, the list of negatives from this, the fallout goes on and on and on. I
will say it was surprising because there's nothing to replace it, but it wasn't unexpected. I mean, it's Disney. And the people who are making Pixelborn didn't own Lorcana, so it made sense that it was kind of inevitable that this was going to happen someday.
And it was inevitable, and Pavel had always said that he would take down the game if he was asked to, but to have no kind of replacement even announced at this point feels like it's a bad place for the game to be as a whole. I mean, I think Pixelborn did more for marketing the game than any of Ravensburger's efforts, potentially. So I struggle to see how this is a win for anybody, really. I don't even see how it's a win for Disney.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. I think it's only a win for them in the sense that they can now own all aspects of this game. Own in quotes there, as in they're going to be able to control all aspects of Lorcana playing. Period.
Definitely brings it back under one roof, I guess, but it is discouraging, and our sincere sympathies are with folks who are really upset at this loss. We can only hope that there is a replacement in the future, and one that is as equally easy to access.
The loss of Pixelborn does remind me of a Disney snack.
What snack?
It's like an ice cream cone that you get on Main Street USA, and it's a single scoop mint chocolate chip. It's got 2 little Mickey chocolate ears in it. And then you drop it on the ground. That's what it's like.
Woof.
And you're looking around for someone to give you a replacement ice cream, but the line's really long. You can't quite get in contact with people, and you might get a replacement, but it's not looking like it's going to happen anytime soon. That's this.
Yeah, and it's hard to remain really positive under those circumstances, even if you are a positive person / podcast and you're trying to keep your chin up, it can be difficult.
Yeah, there's no easy way to put it. It's a sad day, sad times. Hopefully something good will come out of it. I still believe in Lorcana. I still think it's a really popular game. I think it's still going to be doing well. It's a little bit of steam lost, but it's nothing crazy.
Lorcana's doing great. It's going to be okay. There's still a bright future ahead for the game. It's hard after a great weekend last weekend with the Atlanta Disney Lorcana Challenge to have this news hit this week. But you try to look for silver linings, like it is going to force folks back to League and back to casual play nights and back into in-person tournaments. So that can be a good thing. That can be a positive. I have heard a few content creators say like, oh, I'm going to have to go back to League. I hadn't been in forever. And that is a good thing. But it is concerning for the long-term health of the game. It seems like it was the ace in the hole. It was a wild card that Lorcana had that really helped accelerate the growth and popularity of the game. So there's not too much more we can say that hasn't been said, but know that, our sympathies are with you if you are saddened by this news. And, we'll still be here trying to help grow the game in whatever way we can with you.
Oh, yeah.
So what's going on with us aside from all of this?
So here we are. You're listening to Smorcana. This is episode number 17. We're so excited. We just started, speaking of League, we just started League this last week.
Yeah, it was a starter deck league and a really cool format they cooked up over at Diversions, where you get a starter deck and a booster pack, and each successive week you can purchase one more booster pack. Then your deck and your extra cards live at the store in a deck box that was given to you as part of the entry fee. And you can trade from those card pools with other players in the league. So a really cool starting place for folks, which is great because we had some new players at the store.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about having the in-person events only be boosted by all this recent news. We had so many people at the store, including
the cool soccer moms. Oh, baby. If you remember a couple episodes ago, I had mentioned that at the release for Ursula's return, ahead of me in line were some cool soccer moms. And I had tried to give them the hard sell about how fun it is to come and participate in Lorcana events. And wouldn't you know, they showed up and joined the league.
And because they truly live up to the title of cool soccer moms, they had stickers made, like Lorcana-themed stickers that said cool soccer mom. Like, what?
It was so cool.
It was so cool. They lived up to the title.
They
cool.
did. We got stickers. I put mine right on my deck box. Did you put yours on your deck box too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So cool. So shout out to the cool soccer moms and the cool soccer mom lackey, Dana, who is
the lackey.
The husband of a cool soccer mom.
Dad. Yeah, it was awesome. It was just so great to see so many people there. And it was our, little core group that's local and hangs out a lot and has been playing for a while. And then some fresh faces. It was so much fun. And there were so many of us. I mean, we were playing and all of a sudden it was like 9.
Yeah, time flew.
Time just flew. It was crazy.
We played multiplayer. We played 1v1. We made a ton of trades and we altered our decks and talked about Pixelborn, and it was just a great night.
It was such a blast. It was one of the first times we were really able to buckle in and trade a bunch of cards from this set too, which was thrilling. We finished a lot of play sets. We're still on the hunt for some cards, but we're feeling mostly satisfied with this set.
Yeah. We're still short 4 Diablos. We're still short 3 big Sisus. So besides that, we're doing all right.
So with League, we each get to pick a starter deck.
Right. So I ended up with the Madrigals because you wanted the heroes. You wanted to play Anna.
Oh, and she's so cool. And that deck obviously comes with the smaller Anna too, who buffs heroes, and it's just heropower.com, and I had such a blast playing it.
How did your games go?
They went pretty well. I went 3-1.
Nice.
Which was awesome.
Great.
I felt like a G with it. And it's especially nice to get a little boost in that first week of League when our decks haven't really been able to be refined too much. You just kind of make it and cross your fingers and go. So I felt like it turned out pretty well. What about you?
Yeah, it's okay. I felt like I didn't have the ability to make a lot of plays with the madrigals. There's not a ton you can do with them. They're very, very linear. So there's some powerful cards like Isabella, but I am definitely going to be on the lookout for some removal to add to my deck, because it definitely feels like, if you miss your curve, there's no catch-up mechanic whatsoever with them, beyond just hoping that they don't have a way to deal with Isabella.
Right. Yeah, those madrigals are really cool, but it's tough, especially in a starter deck kind of format, to necessarily have all of them in there together.
All of your tricks come from the board. Like, you have a lot of support. So that's obviously telegraphed. Your opponent can play around it pretty easily. I did trade for a sneaky copy of the Mob Song, which has been helpful because I have a couple copies of Ursula and a couple copies of the Ariel that sings for 7. So having a surprise Mob Song to chuck out every now and then, that's my one card in the 60 that I'm like, okay, this can get me back in a game.
Yeah, that's what made it really exciting, is that you weren't necessarily playing against a bunch of mirror matches, with all these starter decks. Everybody opened a pack and everybody could trade openly to make their decks for League. So you keep seeing unexpected things. You'd be playing against somebody and you'd be like, oh, we have the same deck. I know what's in there. But then they pull out a Mob Song, for example. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it really fun. We're having a blast with it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a great format in particular to get our new players up to speed and start incorporating them into some of our events. And it's a really nice opportunity to develop the community.
Yeah, just a blast.
I think a lot about community building in Lorcana, and so much of it is you get out of it what you put into it,
Oh, definitely.
And so it feels like we've been trying to be ambassadors for the game, and we're starting to see some dividends from that. So it's really cool. To that end, those brownies were delicious.
Yeah, you got to bring snacks to Lorcana. I mean, that's our whole thing. That's our whole personality. How could you not have snacks at League?
You've been baking up a storm for all of our events.
I've been baking up a storm, but I really need to take my game up to the next level, my baking game. I think I've got to start making some knockoff Disney snacks for Lorcana nights, right?
Sure.
Doesn't that make the most sense? I'll keep you updated, Pod. But I think that's the next level.
I wonder if they could hear my stomach rumbling. We'll see if the mic picked it up.
Yeah. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be something cool.
In other brief news, one of our giveaway packages arrived.
Oh my gosh.
A Lumineer Cass got her giveaway package with her Rapunzel pin. Why are you upset?
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I'm putting the horse before the wagon here. Wagon before the horse?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Go ahead, tell them what Cass opened.
Well, we threw a pack, an Ursula's Return pack in with our giveaway packages, and Cass pulled a Diablo in the one pack that we sent.
Which is incredible, and I'm so happy for Cass, and I love that they won the giveaway.
Yeah.
We love a giveaway. But we've been looking for a Diablo for our whole lives.
Nah.
And we sent one away in the mail.
You know what? It's all karma. We'll get it back. Whatever you put into the universe, you get it back tenfold or whatever. So,
yeah.
I have nothing but good vibes out of doing that,
I know. It's true. It's so fun. And it's great that we were able to give someone a good pack. How fun is it when you can open one pack and you get something that's really awesome from it?
Yeah. What would you have rather we sent her 2 Ariel's Grottos and a foil Ariel's Grotto?
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm so glad that there was something good in there.
Yeah, love it. Well,
what do you say? Is that it for our introductory segment here? Should we get into our meal?
Yeah, let's order some apps.
What are we doing today? What are we gonna eat?
Well, we're gonna talk a little bit about the metagame in this new set. We've gotten to get a little bit more into it in this last week, so we've formulated some ideas about it. For our main course, we're going to talk about Losing.
Womp womp. All
All
right, let's see if we can't grab a hold of somebody here. Bonsoir, madame et messieurs. Comment ça va?
Hey, Francois. We're doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing very, very well this evening. Very well indeed.
Oh, what's going on? Why are you feeling so chipper?
Well, it is I do not like to bring my personal life into work, but, I am doing very well in my personal life these days. I have met a very large woman. She is very tall.
A large woman?
And she makes me very happy.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad, Francois. That's great news.
She has hands like dinner plates.
Oh, wow. Hands like dinner plates.
Very beautiful porcelain dinner plate hands.
That's an image. Thanks, Francois. Wow, I'm so happy for you, really.
Merci. Enough about me. Tonight, I hope you enjoy your appetizer. You have three complimentary dishes here. Bon appétit.
Thank you. Wow, did you see that? Francois is so happy.
Yeah. Wow, good for him, huh?
I know, I love that.
Yeah, I've never seen him so chipper.
I know. Well, let's talk about this app. What have we got here? We've got some stuff about the meta. He said we got 3 different dishes.
Oh, and look, we've got some special cutlery. There's like little scissors, little kitchen scissors.
Oh, cute.
And there's, what is this? Oh, some rock candy.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and it's all wrapped up in gold leaf.
Oh, like rock, paper, scissors?
Oh, it's like a rock, paper, scissors meta.
It kind of is.
Yeah, we've been diving into the meta, finally getting to get our hands on some meta decks, test them out for ourselves, take them for a spin, see what they're like, experience things for ourselves.
Yeah, so it's become kind of a 3-way circus here with the decks. We've been experimenting with some really silly decks, but we're going to focus on what the core of the meta seems to be thus far.
So last week, we mentioned that Emerald Steel and Ruby Sapphire are the real front runners in the meta. And then over the course of the last week, judging from some of these tournament results that are coming in, there's a third part of this triangle in the form of Sapphire Steel. So you've got Emerald Steel that has an advantage over Ruby Sapphire. Ruby Sapphire has an advantage over Sapphire Steel, and Sapphire Steel has an advantage over Emerald Steel. So you have a pretty tidy rocks, paper, scissors meta.
Yeah, it's nice that it feels so perfectly balanced like that, too. It doesn't feel like there's one that defeats everything, unquestioned, dominating forever.
Yeah, that's always the concern, right? You don't want it to be that one tier 0 deck where one deck pushes everything else out of the meta, like it kind of did when we started playing the game in Inklands. It was all Ruby Amethyst and nothing could really kind of keep pace. Now it does feel like you have 3 decks that are on equal footing. And even then, we'll talk about this more in a bit, but I don't think the meta is completely solved. But let's talk about this triangle and like why it is a triangle. What cards are making it into a triangle? Why does one deck have an advantage over another?
Sure.
So Ruby Sapphire is reliant on feeding its fishbone quill to ramp, right? So they generally want to ink a card and then ink a second card using their fishbone quill, ramp up to their more powerful cards, and then use those powerful cards to leverage an advantage turn after turn, yeah? Now, it's hard to do that if you don't have a hand initially to ink. So when Emerald Steel is sitting there with Diablos and Buckies and enabling a ton of card advantage, then Ruby Sapphire can lose some of the fuel it needs. If it never gets a chance to start that Hiram engine up and that Fishbone Quill engine up, then eventually Emerald Steel will be able to use its card advantage to secure a win. Ruby Sapphire also takes a few turns off in the early game. Like usually it's develop your brain or popsicle on the first turn, and then the second turn's one jump ahead, and then, maybe it's Fishbone Quill or it's Hiram. So at most, after a few turns, they've got a 1 strength character on the board, maybe. So Emerald Steel being a more aggressive list that is shifting characters out on turn 2. And so you have multiple Floodborns by turn 3, and Aladdin starts questing early to knock items out. it can set up with impunity sometimes against Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, that can be such an absolute nightmare. Playing against a discard specifically with a popsicle deck like that is just like you said, you play the first couple of turns and you're just getting all your stuff in a row, and then you blink and they have 3 characters on the board and all you have is a popsicle.
And no hand.
And nothing in your hand, right? And you're just sitting there like, okay, do I discard this to heal something now? Like what? It can really turn that deck off completely.
Yep. So then you're saying like, okay, well, how do you beat Emerald Steel? And the answer comes in the form of Sapphire Steel. And Sapphire Steel's removal does a great job of suppressing those small, hard to get to Emerald Steel characters like Bucky with Ward and like Diablo with Evasive. Like Grab Your Sword right now is maybe the best answer in the game to those boards. Able to just take care of Bucky's, take care of Diablos all at once. Especially if you're able to ramp up a little bit and sing it early, or shift into a character and sing it early, then you can swing the game and make sure that those early turns don't snowball against you.
Sometimes I get so aggressively mad about Emerald Steel, and we'll touch on this anger in the main course, but it really makes me want to play Sapphire Steel. Whenever I play against a discard and I'm getting so frustrated, I just want to pound it into the ground with Sapphire Steel so badly.
Yeah, and Sapphire Steel's card draw is so much better with the new Fortisphere. It's like having 8 popsicles, right? Or steel popsicle, as it's been referred to.
Yeah, just a metal-flavored popsicle.
Yum, yum. So Sapphire Steel's improved. They've got some new tools. You also, of course, have that panic button Whole New World against discard where, if you're able to get it off against an Ursula, and Ursula doesn't strip it out of your hand and you can sing it, that can nullify all of the discard effects that Emerald Steel is relying on. So definitely some tools that Sapphire Steel has to combat those Bucky discard decks.
So what beats Sapphire Steel?
Oh, well, that would be Ruby Sapphire.
All right, completing our triangle here.
Yeah. So Sapphire Steel, speaking of Whole New World, really doesn't like to play that card against Ruby Sapphire because, of course, it feeds Fishbone Quills for your opponent. You give them 7 cards, and now they're more than happy to keep chucking 2 cards a turn into their Inkwell. And also, some of their best cards are just crushed by Medusa, right? Like, you can't play your Beast Tragic Heroes when the threat of Medusa is there. You can't play cards like Robin Hood if your version is playing that. It can be really difficult to stick a character. And now all it takes is an Ice Block and a Medusa to get rid of Tinkerbell as well. They're just, some of their removal, Ruby Sapphire's removal is really, really good into Sapphire Steel. And then conversely, Grab Your Sword really doesn't do much at all against Ruby Sapphire. So basically, the way the removals line up really, really favors Ruby Sapphire. So that's how the triangle shakes out.
Right, this rock, paper, scissors, proverbial rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, but that's not to say that there aren't any answers and that it's completely one-sided for any of those matchups, because each of those decks has tools to better their chances against their worst matchups.
And I think in every Lorcana game, too, to a degree, there's a luck of the draw. And that's what makes this game so exciting, is that you never know what you're going to get. There's some games where you might not get your nuts because they're in the bottom of your deck.
Right.
There's some simple things like that, too, that are going to naturally change the course of a game, going first or going second.
Yep, you can mulligan in particular ways to better your chances. So they're not totally one-sided. These aren't like 90-10 matchups. Right. It's more like at worst 60-40, which is good. That's healthy. That's what you want to see. But yeah, looking at some of the answers that the decks have, like if you are playing Ruby Sapphire against Emerald Steel and you can get to Big Sisu pretty much wipes Emerald Steel's board. It gets by Ward, it gets by Evasive. That can be a crucial card. It doesn't get hit by Ursula. Your Ursula can't strip Big Sisu out of your hand. So Ruby Sapphire does have answers, and that's a really good answer. And then similarly, Sapphire Steel playing against Ruby Sapphire has been running the new 6-drop Ariel, which is a Ward character, can't get hit by Medusa, can't get targeted by ice blocks, etc., etc.
Insanely good.
Really, really good, and very, very often is going to be questing for 5, especially because Sapphire Steel tends to play more items than Ruby Sapphire with those Fortispheres.
No, your podcast did not just break. Questing for 5. This Ariel, she's crazy.
Yeah, it's a really, really good card.
Ugh.
It's hard because she's uninkable, so it's hard to find too many slots for her. Like, you're not going to run 4 of her, right? You're going to run probably 2 to make sure that you can find that answer when you need it. But when she fires, she can be really great. Great lucky dime target. A really cool new card. And Emerald Steel definitely has play lines that feel like they just win the game instantly. Like when they're able to Diablo on turn 1, play Bucky on turn 2, also shift Diablo on turn 2, follow up with a Diablo on turn 3. That can feel really, really bad, and it can feel like a non-game. But that just means that your mulligans against Green Steel are all the more important. You have to be running answers for Diablo, whether it's a Baboom or a Grab Your Sword or a Brawl or whatever. You have to be running answers, and you need to be mulliganing for those answers to be able to combat those auto win openings. So as players get more familiar with those particular lines of play, they're going to be more equipped to counter them as well. So that's all to say that the meta is not solved right now. Like, if you hypothetically had invented a deck that destroyed the format, that, could beat all 3 of these decks, then you're going to hold it until Chicago. Chicago's the first major tournament. You have tens of thousands of dollars of prizing at stake. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a rogue deck pop up and take over at Chicago and surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's again, kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the thrill of the in-person aspects of Lorcana, is that someone could, in a deep, dark basement somewhere, be like, "Mwahahaha," and have this deck that they've never shared online, like it's 1995, and just come in and blow people's minds. Like, that's so fun.
I mean, that's pretty much what happened at Atlanta.
Yeah, right.
So if wouldn't be surprising if that happened again at Chicago. And I think, we've been brewing and playing a ton of off-meta decks. That's pretty much what we've been leaning into, just to see what's out there.
Right.
If you're not going to Chicago, now is the perfect time to be throwing things at the wall to see what sticks.
Right.
There's a lot of space and time for exploration.
Speaking of explorations, we've been going in some wild directions lately with our decks.
We have been exploring for sure.
And I wouldn't say we're lost in the woods, but we're having a ton of fun.
Yeah. So Triton has been my little pet card for the expansion, kind of like Airfoil last expansion, where I'm really trying to make Triton work.
He's so cool.
He looks cool. He's got cool dolphins flipping all around him.
Yeah, the dolphins alone.
He's a 9-cost big dude in Sapphire. Come on.
Yeah, he's a blast. We're having fun trying to make him work.
Yeah, right now we threw him into an Amber Sapphire list, which, traditionally not a strong ink pairing.
But pretty. Those cards are pretty together.
Yeah, they look really cool. And it's a fun list, so we've got, in that list, we have lanterns to try to aid with even more ramp to play Triton as quickly as possible. And then we're running like 16 or 18 locations, I think.
Yeah, it's like the most fun. It's a fever dream of a deck. It's not performing super well.
No, Pride Lands is really fun in that, in that list, right? Because it works with all of the Tritons. The young Triton is a prince, and of course the legendary Triton is a king, so it helps with potentially the ramp, and it's also a location, so that fits really well. It just doesn't have enough removal.
Yeah. What are some other decks we've been playing with?
So, speaking of getting lost in the woods.
Lost in the woods!
I cooked up a Lost in the Woods Big Sisu board wipe deck where the 2-cost singer Ursula could sing Lost in the Woods, and then you can play big Sisu and get a one-sided board wipe. Just another way to build the Amber Ruby list, and hasn't quite lived up to expectations, but there's so much potential in that color combination.
Yeah, I love Amber and I love Ruby, so putting those together is always a blast for me. We've also been playing a Beauty and the Beast kind of deck with Ruby Amethyst and my girl Belle.
The Mystic, the accomplished Mystic.
I love accomplished Mystic Belle. I have some ideas for what to dress up as for Texas, but I don't know. She's tempting.
That would be so cool.
I know, right?
Oh, come on. That would be so cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about it.
Oh, you hadn't mentioned that to me at all, and I think that would be awesome.
I really want to dress up as Pooh Honey Wizard, though.
Also good.
Yeah.
Also good. But yeah, that Ruby Amethyst list we kind of cooked up is the new 3-cost beast with the accomplished Mystic. Also playing the Amethyst 3-drop Belle that moves damage with the 2 new Rose items to move damage off of the new Mulan and off of your characters that you used Teeth and Ambitions on. So some nifty damage moving twists on Ruby Amethyst. That's been really fun.
Yeah, so we've also been playing with a...
Hey, yeah.
Oh,
Y'all,
hi, Toby.
I heard you guys were talking about off-meta brews.
Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, we've been playing some off-meta decks, Toby.
Yeah? Like, seriously off-meta or just like poser off-meta?
All right, relax. I think they're really off-meta. Why, do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got a sick combo.
Yeah, tell us about it.
It's a really, really sick brew, but yeah, I can't talk about it because I don't want it to be meta.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I just want you to know that, like, if I were going to Chi Town, I would be taking it down with this sick brew.
Okay, well, I mean, if it's so sick, I wouldn't worry about telling us.
I can't tell you. I'm not ready to reveal my spice to the world.
No, it's okay. Why don't you tell us next week, maybe?
Maybe next week. But
Give it a week to see if it's still truly off meta.
I need to go back to the off meta Toby lab, give it a few tweaks, maybe put it on the old Bunsen burner and see what I can do. Yeah. But I think it shows a lot of potential, and I'm pretty sure it would take down Chi-Town.
All right. I think they need you.
Can I be on your pod? Can I be on your pod next week?
Yeah, and sure.
I'll come in for an interview.
Yeah.
I'll come in for an interview. I'll win a tournament with it first, and then I'll come and be in an interview.
That sounds like a great deal, Toby. If you win a whole tournament, then you can come right on our podcast.
All right, I'll see you next week. I'll hop on the pod.
All right. I think they need you out back. They're asking. Yeah, he's coming. He's coming. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
I knew that if we were going to talk about the off meta like this, that he was going to come over.
He has like off meta radar. He just swoops in.
He can sense it like nobody else.
It's like there's like an off meta bat signal that we just start flashing, and he comes leaping into the conversation, no holds barred.
What a guy.
Well, I'm sure that his deck is terrible.
I don't know. Maybe it's great. Who knows? Maybe he's the kind of guy who's going to show up at Chicago and wow us with a deck we've never seen.
Maybe. I don't know.
I doubt it heavily, but it is possible.
What were you going to talk about when he so rudely interrupted? What other kind of spice have we been trying out?
I was trying to talk about the brooms.
Oh,
the brooms. We've been having so much fun with the brooms. And the brooms, as we've said many times in this podcast, have been a deck that we have wanted to make work for so long. And we definitely have more brooms to play with. Yensid's amazing. Using both the Mickeys is really fun. It's been pretty good to us.
Yeah, there are a few more power cards that really upped the game of the brooms. The new additions have been outstanding, and we've been trying it with a bounce package shell that's been really good.
So much fun.
All of the Mims and Merlins are sorcerers, of course. So your Dancing Duster is pretty much always turned on. You only need to run a couple of them because you can bounce them, which is great.
And bouncing the brooms is great and helpful, and it's just, it all seems to be working, honestly, pretty well.
Simply questing with Yensid for 3 and then bouncing him back to your hand so that you can draw another card the next turn is really, really strong.
Such a blast.
Yeah, wicked fun. enjoying the brooms quite a bit. I don't know that they're tier 1, but they have game, and they're very fun.
They got game. Any more off-meta decks we've been playing with?
I have one that I think is actually good and actually has potential, and I don't know that I'm ready to talk about it yet. I have high hopes for it.
Who are you, off-meta Toby?
I know, I'm pulling an off-meta Toby here, but I did want to mention it because I just think that there is a lot of potential in cards that aren't seeing play. I think there's a lot more to explore. I do not think the meta is solved at all. I think that there are a few cards that their determinations were made about really, really early. And I sometimes wonder if a byproduct of having a young community for the game, meaning the community doesn't have a long history of knowledge of archetypes, right? And there are a lot of new players, and I think a large portion of the player base gravitates towards what is meta, what is being played. And so I think that perhaps we rushed to conclusions as a card gaming community.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. We're early yet.
Yeah, don't stop testing. Don't be afraid. It's still very, very early. Don't be afraid, which brings us quite neatly towards our main course.
Ooh, let's get that dish rolling.
Hi there.
Hey.
What's going on? You okay? You look upset.
I'm sorry.
What's wrong?
I think I lost your food.
What?
I was bringing out your food, and then I couldn't find it anymore. So I just pretty much lost it.
How did you lose it? Where was it? What happened? You dropped it?
I don't know. But I'm gonna go back and see if I can find it.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Okay, yeah.
Who was that?
I don't know.
Never seen them here before.
Excusez-moi, I am very sorry for the lack of service. We have added a new server who is now, she is no longer with the restaurant.
Francois?
We will talk about this later, Geraldine.
I'm really sorry, though.
Geraldine, meet me in the back office.
Okay.
Again, Madame and Monsieur, I am very sorry for this. This is a new server. She is distressed. She is perhaps not cut out for the fine dining business, and I apologize once again. And I am happy to present you with this. It appears to be an invisible empty plate.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Very well. Bon appetit.
Wow, that's so sad that Geraldine was so sad about losing our dish that she quit the restaurant.
Yeah, perhaps not the reaction that you'd like to see out of a server there upon losing.
Yeah, it's almost like when you lose, you shouldn't get upset and quit. What could that mean in terms of Lorcana?
I think I said really, really early on that we were going to shoehorn as many food metaphors into our Lorcana chats as possible.
Does this count as a food metaphor?
I don't know, kind of. It's like a restaurant metaphor, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's food involved.
Yeah, it's an allegory, maybe, not a metaphor. But
sure.
Either way, we are shoehorning with the best of them, folks.
We're the number one shoehorner podcast in the world.
We have a gigantic shoehorn, and we wedged our toes in, and we are just stomping on our heels.
Oh, no.
That's what a shoehorn is, right?
I have no idea.
It's that weird smooth thing that you put on the back of your shoe near your heel so that you can slide your heel into your shoe.
Oh, I thought it was the thing that keeps the shape of your shoe when you're not in it.
Oh, maybe.
My grandpa used to have those.
Listeners, if you can tell us what a shoehorn is, then you will earn 150 Smorcana bucks.
Smorcana bucks, which can be used in our Smorcana shop, which doesn't exist.
But might someday.
But could someday, so save up those Smorcana bucks.
Yeah, keep hoarding your Smorcana bucks. Anyway, so for the main course tonight, We are talking about the awesome power of losing. So I want to talk about this because I was prompted by a couple of questions that we received. Here's a question that somebody asked us. Somebody slid into our DMs, a devoted listener. Thank you very much. Heard that we had played each other in the sealed event.
Right.
And they wrote in and said, quote, how do you guys handle the competition, especially if the outcome isn't in your favor? My wife and I are new to Lorcana in this type of game, but she's always kicking my butt at home. Sometimes my competitive side gets frustrated, but overall I have to remember it's all fun and just a game.
I love that question. I know that I personally suffer from getting really frustrated and tilting during games, right? Tilting meaning I just give up on it and I start making mistakes because I get frustrated or I get angry and I tilt the outcome of the game, right? It's like if you're playing a board game and you tilt the board because you're so mad, you flip it over. I have always done that. I do tend to have a quick temper when I don't understand something or if something's not coming easily to me or if I feel like I look stupid. It's definitely, it can happen in Lorcana. And I think that sometimes, speaking of playing with your partner, you and I play a lot and you beat me a lot too. And, I think it's trained me really well to handle defeat, I guess, but it's something that I'm still trying to get better at all the time.
Sure. Yeah. I just want to point out the last part of the comment that we received, which is that, you have to remember it's all fun and just a game. Yeah, absolutely. Like, of course. Yeah, it's fun. It is a game. You are playing it with your free time. You're spending your free time to hopefully enjoy yourself and enjoy time with a friend or a partner or whatever. I want to go one step further than that too and say that not only is it okay to lose, but you will win more if you lose.
What do you mean?
So we see it with players in particular, I think, who have a little bit of early success. And what happens is they'll win a few games and then, or a tournament, or they'll win, maybe they won a Stitch or something, and they'll feel like if they don't win again, they'll be stepping backwards, right? And so you get in this cycle where you're choosing conservative decks. You don't want to go outside of your comfort zone. You stop experimenting. It becomes less about having fun and more about upholding that record, right? So I'd love to try to reframe losing. And I think, personally, that losing is the single most important factor to evolving as a player.
It's also important to note that losing does not define who you are as a person, right? It's not indicative of your intelligence, your value, your potential as a player. It only reflects your current ability to win this one particular game of Lorcana against this one particular opponent.
Allowing for variance and luck on top of that.
Right.
So, yeah, it's easy to take it personally, but it isn't.
Right.
It isn't personal.
Yeah, it's very easy to take it personally.
But now that we said that, let's talk about why losing will make you win. So let's start from a macro perspective. Here's an example. This is kind of reductive, but let's try to think of it this way. If you were to give every single player of Lorcana a letter grade, right? And let's say that you're a B player and on the American grading system scale, and everybody around you is a C player. It doesn't matter then if you play at a B plus level, an A plus level, you're going to beat the C players as a B player. Moreover, you would never even know that you are a B player rather than an A player, right? If you are just winning, it doesn't matter how much you win by, and you're never going to know what your ceiling is or how to improve. That doesn't account for like deck choices or play styles. Like there's this other piece of this where if you're a rock player and everybody around you is a scissors player, then you're playing in this kind of fishbowl where you don't have outside perspectives. And then when a paper player rolls into set championships and lays waste, it will be because you never had the opportunity to lose to that kind of player in terms of deck or play style.
Yeah, I felt this happening in the latest set championships when it was, I at the end of the day on one of the set championships days, and I played against a complete mirror. And I had played against some mirrors before, but I just hadn't played against a big enough of a pool that when the loss came so quickly and so hard, it was even harder to take because I hadn't seen it coming like that. And I remember the feedback that I got from my opponent, who was really nice, was that he had played so many mirrors. And he was like, yeah, I kind of knew. Like, I knew how this happened. And I was like, oh, dang. Like, I wish I had the thought. I wish I had lost more to this kind of a deck.
Yeah. So, I'm being reductive and saying like, oh, let's just give players a letter grade. But what I'm really saying is you experience only a limited amount of the infinite possibilities of Lorcana games. And a piece of all of those infinite possibilities is losing. And I know the unknown can be scary, but the unknown is what presents the opportunities to improve. If you keep playing against players who aren't as experienced as you, if you keep playing against players who only have a particular play style and you never push out of your comfort zone, then you will not improve. You will stagnate and you will lack the ability to win some of those bigger events that have broader metas, broader player bases. Overall, like, you should want to get torched. You should want to get obliterated at Lorcana. That should be your goal. Like, find the players who crush you, and you will get better.
Yeah. I mean, that makes logical sense to me. As much as I truly hate losing, that logic does seem to make sense. If I give myself time to cool off after a loss, it does help. If I can take that feedback, if I can quiet the voices in my head and actually listen to the feedback, it definitely helps.
At least for a while, right? Like, nobody wants to lose and lose and lose and lose and lose and never ever kind of turn that corner. But if you are optimistic and diligent and considerate in your losing, then you will turn that corner eventually. That's the macro perspective on losing that I have in card games. Like, I want to play against the best players I possibly can, and I hope that they are doing things that I never dreamed of. All right, let's talk about it from a micro perspective, like on a game-by-game level now. So that was the broad, like, how should you approach all of Lorcana? But, like, how do you approach losing in an individual game, and how can that help you?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most important points is to stop yourself from tilting, right? Don't get upset. Don't get upset that you lost. Don't bubble it up in your brain, because then that's gonna affect your later games. It's gonna affect your whole attitude towards the game in general. I think it's also important to determine why you lost, and that's so much easier than determining why you won. In my mind, at least. When I win a game, I'm like, woohoo! Okay, let's go. I'm on top of the world. I can't be defeated. I'm the best Lorcana player that's ever been. I made no mistakes. Even though maybe I made mistakes, or maybe I made really good decisions, but I don't remember what they were because I'm blinded by the joy of victory. I think it's easier to look back and be like, what could I have done differently? What went wrong? What are the tiny micro decisions that I made that changed the whole game for me? As frustrating as it can be to look back at one mulligan you made, or one ink choice you made that wasn't right, or one thing you played that you shouldn't have played, or you played it too early, or you played it too late, or whatever. Knowing that and identifying it can help you from making that mistake again.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that you don't have that same impetus when you win. I think that makes sense. It's like when you lose, there's a high motivation to not lose again. Whereas when you win, you don't have a motivation to change. So yeah, you don't have the same scrutiny applied.
Right. And you trust your brain. Looking back on it, you're like, I made all the right decisions. I won the game. I don't need to think about that. I'll know what to do. I knew what to do this time.
I mean, theoretically, you should approach every game the same and say, why did I win or why did I lose? But, in particular, I think sometimes it is hard when you lost to grapple with having made an error yourself, right? Like, it's much easier, and you see it all the time, to say like, well, I didn't draw what I needed, or they drew exactly what they needed. But Lorcana has a lot of player skill involved, and that's why we see some of the top players winning tournaments over and over again. So as soon as you can kind of get past making it personal, you can focus on those micro decisions. Like you said, look at the cards you inked. That's a great tip.
Right. Flip them over at the end. Look back at what you did, because you might not remember it after 10 turns. And it's your third round of the day and you haven't had lunch yet and you're kind of a little swimmy and dizzy, to look back and think, oh, I did ink that Rapunzel. That wasn't 2 games ago. That was this game. Oh, and that's why that happened. Oh, and I did that. Oh, I wish I had that in my hand.
Yeah. Oh, I ran out of cards and I inked a Rapunzel on turn 1. Boom. Right? Definitely flip over your cards after. I think that's a great tip. Also, I love asking my opponent how they felt about a play that I made. And it doesn't have to be like whether they thought it was right or wrong. It can just be something so simple as, were you disappointed when I played this card? Or were you relieved when I played this card? Get a perspective on your plays from the other side of the table. How did you feel when I used Maui to challenge your location rather than your character, or whatever? How did you feel when I didn't be prepared on this turn, but I did on the next turn? Did that work? Were you glad that you got an extra turn of questing in, etc.? Your opponent's going to have a great and different perspective than you did. Also ask yourself, what's the one line you could have taken that you didn't take? What's one thing you could have done differently? It might not even be the right thing, but make sure you're asking yourself and diagnosing after a game ends, what was the other option?
I think that's particularly helpful if you've already looked back at your ink and you still feel like it was the right decision, or if you ask your opponent and they don't say that they noticed anything, that particularly stood out to them. Maybe you did play a good game, but it's just the difference of playing it differently that you missed. Maybe you played it right, quote unquote, but you lost. You still lost for some reason. There must have been a different line or a different approach or something that you could have done differently. It's a good final check, too, of all that other stuff.
One more piece of advice.
Ooh, okay. What is it? What's this final little cherry on top of our sundae here?
So I would advise you to play a bad deck at a tournament that has at least some small amount of stakes.
That is an unexpected cherry on top of our sundae. That's like, I thought it was a cherry and I bit into it and now it's a gummy. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. So take a bad deck, take it to a tournament, make that deck yourself. I recommend that you give it an alternate quote unquote win condition, like something that if you got it to work, you would feel good even if you didn't win the game. And by that, I mean have the goal be that you want to have 4 eels in play, or that you want Mickey Mouse Trumpeter to get Goofy into play on turn 5, Goofy Knight for a day. Give yourself that alternate win condition. And what this is going to do is it's going to reframe what you want to get out of a tournament. It's going to help you relax. It's going to take the pressure off. It's going to allow you to enjoy the conversations and the atmosphere of playing Lorcana in a store with strangers. And it's going to change the way that you engage with a competitive event. You hear about neural pathways and habit building and forming habits. And if you start building in the habit of, I can go and play Lorcana and have fun, and if I lose, it will still be fun, and I can enjoy things about the game even when I'm losing, then when you go to a tournament that you really care to try to win, and you're playing a better deck, then your emotional recall of playing Lorcana is going to be more positive. Your neural pathways will be formed, right, in a way that's going to allow you to appreciate how fun the game can be, right? You're going to enjoy the art. You're going to enjoy the presence of others, of meeting strangers and playing this game. And you're going to lose, hopefully, some of that stress and some of the tension, some of the nerves that can come with playing in a competitive event. Does that make any sense?
I think that's brilliant. I love the idea of bringing a kooky deck. I mean, we have so much fun playing those at home that I think it makes that a nice, comfortable environment for us to play Lorcana in. I haven't really had nerves going to any of the tournaments because we've played with so many wild things and just have so much fun with the game that I have so many positive feelings about all these cards that I don't feel like frightened to see any of them, or like my deck is so perfect and cannot be touched and it is tuned exactly to be blah 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 blah. If we make silly decks, it's so fun. I love that. I love that way of thinking about it.
I also think that might be your card gaming superpower. You don't have a long history in competitive card gaming, but from what I've seen of you, I think you have an atypical ability to stay completely calm and unaffected under the pressure of a tournament. Like, I think you play at your best in a tournament, which is not how it goes for a lot of folks.
I'm very good at that in real life too.
Well,
outside of card gaming things, I've always been really good under pressure. It's a good thing, but you know,
your actor brain.
Yes,
but yeah, I think it also does help, even on a more literal level. The more you play with weird cards, the more unflappable you'll be when your opponent has some crazy tech in their deck.
Awesome. So fun. Lose more, and eventually you will win. I can guarantee it. Ugh, that was great. I'm stuffed from all that losing. Let's get a little dessert in here. All right. So, Brett, you've cooked up this dream card for us, which I have to say, it's one of my faves we've ever made.
I think you say that every week.
Yeah, but this one's really good.
This is a favorite of the favorites?
I think so. It just feels like it fits really well with our food-themed podcast here.
This card is called Famished.
It's a 1-cost uninkable action.
In the ruby color. And it says, exert chosen character. They get +1 strength this turn.
Yes.
And the flavor text at the bottom.
Just look at that miserable creature, doggedly struggling to maintain life. A gaunt, lean bag of bones and feathers. Truly a picture of despair. But Donald doesn't whimper. Donald doesn't give up.
So the art is poor Donald Duck sitting at a table with very, very, very thinly sliced bread in front of him.
See-through bread.
Yeah, so thin it's see-through. It's from Fun and Fancy Free, the Mickey and the Beanstalk short. And there's famine in the land. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about this card. I have wanted to make that, Ruby Challenger deck where you get all these bonuses for challenging your opponent's characters. But often what it struggles with is your opponent's characters not being exerted. And so none of your stuff can fire. And there are also all of these really cool Ruby action cards where they benefit from playing a certain number of actions in a turn. Or if you play an action, they get this bonus. So this is a nice, cheap action that you can build around in a challenge deck. It has that downside of buffing the character you exert. So it does have a little bit of a downside, which it needs because to be such a useful, cheap action, it needed to be balanced.
I think that it's great. We all know Ruby's my favorite color, and I would love to use this card. Mostly, honestly, because of how cute little hungry Donald is. It's also a common. I don't know if we said that before, but it is common, which I think works very well with the theme of this tiny, starving duck.
Yeah, and I shortly after this moment in the film, Donald kind of goes on a rage and is maybe going to start slaughtering their milk cow for food. So I like the idea that he's exerted, but he's pepped up in strength.
Yeah, but he's gone crazy.
And it's balanced against Freeze in particular. So Freeze is an uninkable 2-cost action in Amethyst that exerts a character. So for it to cost only 1, it needed a little bit of a downside. So the strength buff makes it harder for you to trade into that exerted character.
It's brilliant. Put it in the game.
Put it in the game. Hire me.
All right, another one bites the dust.
Episode 17 is done.
It's finished. Turn off the podcast now.
Next week, we are going to, I guess, unfortunately, platform off Metatobi. Is that something we really want to do?
I don't know. He's only going to get to talk if he wins a tournament.
That's not going to happen.
Okay, then he's not going to talk. We're going to see.
We'll see what happens. You might have to listen to off Metatobi. And we apologize in advance if that's the case.
We'll try to make it short and sweet.
We'll also recap the Chicago Disney Lorcana Challenge, which happens next weekend. We'll have quick hit reactions to that.
Such a blast. Can't wait. And in the meantime, we're going to keep on jamming these decks. We're going to keep jamming our weird off-meta decks. We're going to keep jamming our meta decks. We're going to keep getting our ducks in a row for our big goal of Texas.
And we're going to lose a lot. One of us is.
Yeah.
And it's going to be you.
And it's going to be you. I think we're both going to lose a lot. That's the hope.
I hope so. We can only hope.
We can only be so lucky.
That we'll destroy each other in the end.
Destroy. So you can check us out on our Facebook page at Smorcana.
On Twitter at Smorcana.
On Instagram at Smorcana.
At Gmail at smorcana@gmail.com.
We love to hear from you. We want to chat about snacks. We want to chat about Lorcana.
Hey, and leave us reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll love you forever. Please do that.
Yes, please.
Until next time, keep on snacking, y'all.
Yum, 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 yum.